Hey everyone, from the team here at Elise, I want to start with a question. What if we could protect our digital lives not with flimsy promises, but with actual, solid math? Well, today we're going to explore a powerful set of technologies that are doing exactly that, and they're completely reshaping our relationship with data. Okay, let's just start with a number that, well, it should stop you in your tracks. 5.6 billion. That's how many accounts were compromised in data breaches just this year. Seriously, let that sink in for a second. This isn't just some abstract statistic, right? It's a massive blinking sign that our current approach to privacy is, well, it's broken. So yeah, we are absolutely facing a crisis of digital trust. And look, this isn't just about some clever hackers finding a backdoor. No, it's way bigger than that. It's a systemic issue, you know? It's born from all these fragmented protections and the fact that we have this profound lack of control of our own personal information. The bottom line is our data is just vulnerable. And even with all the regulations out there, our information is still collected and used, often without us having any final say in the matter. We're constantly being asked to trust in these promises of security, but as we see literally every single day, those promises get broken. A lot. But what if we didn't have to rely on trust alone, you know? What if there was a totally different way? A way to build a safer digital world that isn't based on fragile promises, but on something much stronger, the cold, hard certainty of mathematical proof. And that is the promise of what we call privacy-preserving technologies, or PPTs for short. And believe me, they represent a huge, fundamental shift. It's like having a whole new toolkit for how we approach data protection. Now, don't let the name scare you off. Don't think of these as just, super complex algorithms. Really, think of them as incredibly clever ideas. Ideas that let us use data for all the good stuff, in science, in healthcare, even in our daily apps, but without having to sacrifice our fundamental right to privacy. Okay, so how does this actually work in practice? Let's dive in and look at two really powerful examples that are already out there in the real world, changing the game as we speak. All right, first up is something called differential privacy. So imagine you're answering a survey. What this technique does is kind of like adding a drop of magic ink to your personal answers. It just slightly blurs your individual response. But here's the cool part. When your blurred answer is combined with thousands of others, the overall trends are still perfectly clear. It gives you a mathematical guarantee that no one can single you out from the crowd. And this is not just some theory, okay? It's already working at a massive scale. The U.S. Census Bureau used it to protect the identities of an entire nation of 331 million people. And big tech companies are using it right now to improve services on hundreds of millions of devices, all without ever needing to look at individual user data. That's huge. Okay, our next example is called federated learning. And this one is a real paradigm shift. Think about it. Normally, we move our data to the code, right? To some central server. Well, federated learning flips that completely on its head. It moves the code to our data. It's a truly revolutionary way to make AI smarter without creating those massive centralized honeypots of personal info that are just waiting to be hacked. So here's how it works. The core idea is actually pretty simple. First, your data, whether it's on your phone or in a hospital's database, it never leaves. It stays right where it is. Second, the AI model learns locally, right there on the device. And third, only the mathematical lessons, the updates, get shared and combined with others. The analogy I love is a team of researchers studying in their own private libraries. They only share their conclusions. They never, ever share the actual books. And the results? Honestly, they're astonishing. In really critical medical research, this method achieved clinical-grade accuracy in detecting breast cancer. Get this, with only a tiny 1.6% drop in performance compared to methods that don't protect privacy at all. I mean, that's just incredible. It's concrete proof that we don't have to choose between innovation and privacy. We can have both. So as you can see, these technologies are way more than just clever tools. They're the actual building blocks for a world where privacy can be the default, not some afterthought. But to really build that world, technology by itself just isn't going to cut it. We actually have to rethink the very architecture of our digital systems. So the old way, That's centralized databases, collecting way too much data, and a security model based on just trust us. The new way is so much better. We're talking distributed architecture, data minimization, so only collecting what's absolutely necessary, and privacy that is mathematically proven, not just promised. And of course, to make this new architecture a reality, we need strong legal frameworks to back it up. The good news is, laws are starting to evolve. They're including principles like data minimization, like we just talked about, and this is the important part, giving you, the individual, enforceable rights over your own information. That's what creates real, tangible accountability. Okay, so we have the technology and the laws are catching up. But even those two things, as foundational as they are still only part of the solution. Building a truly private digital world, well, that requires our active participation. It really does require all of us. So that brings us to maybe the most important question of all. What can you do, starting right now, to begin taking back control of your digital life? All right, here are 3 simple but seriously powerful actions you can take today. First, please use a password manager. It helps you create unique, strong passwords for every single service you use. Second, enable multi-factor authentication everywhere you can. This one simple step is proven to block 99.9% of automated attacks. That's huge. And third, use messaging apps that have end-to-end encryption turned on by default. Protect your conversations. Look, at the end of the day, these new technologies and our own actions, they give us the power to choose. The question is no longer if we can have both innovation and privacy. The answer to that is yes, we absolutely can. The real question, the one we all have to answer together, is this: what kind of digital world do we want to build? And what are we going to do to build it?